Hey everybody, it's me, Keeks, back with a brand new video. In today's video, I got some more Goosebumps info for the new TV show that's coming to Disney Plus this Friday. I have two interviews. One is with Rob Letterman and Nicholas Stoller, the two showrunners behind Goosebumps, and then executive producers and showrunners. And the second interview is also Rob Letterman and let me see, I forgot her name. Hillary Winston. Okay, I knew it started with an H. She's also a EP on the show, I believe. But there are two great interviews that I read just a little while ago, and I want to read them to you. The first one is pretty interesting, but it's the second one that's really I'm kind of excited to read to y'all. Has a lot of information. There is some like spoilery things they talk about, but nothing major. They do mention some things, but they mention some things without mentioning some things, if that makes sense, right? But anyways, we're gonna go through this first interview, and with that being said, let's get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. So this interview was done by HorrorGeekLife.com. This is the first time I've heard of them. In fact, both of these sites are the first time I've heard of these. So HorrorGeekLife.com and the other one's MamasGeeky.com. So here's an interview at HorrorGeekLife.com. Exclusive Goosebumps EPs talk turning up the scares for a new generation. Okay, Goosebumps fans can rejoice as the show is returning to television just in time for Halloween. Disney Plus and Hulu will premiere the first 5 of 10 episodes on Friday, October 13th, as part of the Hollow Stream and Halloween lineups. New episodes will be available every Friday until November 17th. Developed by executive producers Nicholas Stoller and Rob Letterman, the remake follows a group of high school teenagers who are punished by supernatural forces for their parents' sins. It stars Justin Long, Rachel Harris, Zach Morris, Isa Briones, Miles McKenna, Annie Pugh, and Will Price. We talked with Letterman and Stoller about R.L. Stein's classic themes, making things a bit scary this time around, and the possibility of seeing more Goosebumps stories come to life. So, alright, Horror Geek Life. It's great to see Goosebumps return, and the new series really sorry about that, folks. And the new series really takes the horror up a notch. What made you decide to bring up the scares? Nicholas Stoller. I think audience like being scared, and so it seemed like why not bring that? Not make it too scary, but make it scary, make it fun. But certainly the movies that I grew up with, like The Lost Boys or whatever, that's pretty scary. It doesn't pull its punches. And so I feel like we wanted to try to do that while still being family friendly. Family friendly. We didn't want to give kids nightmares or anything, but we wanted kind of a thrill ride. Rob Letterman. It's hard to write honest characters when you're pandering down to a younger age group. In order to be authentic and tell the story you want to tell, we needed to age it up with our characters. And then that sort of elevated everything else once we did that. And let's be honest, when Goosebumps came out in the 90s, there's still a big fan base of people who are now in their 30s and 40s who love those books. And we wanted to make something for them as well. So it really had to be a show that worked for adults and younger teens. Alright, I'm just refer to Horror Geek Life as HGL from here. HGL, absolutely. Many original fans now want to watch it with their children. So you're bringing Goosebumps to a new generation on television. Did you feel much pressure trying to appeal to viewers of all ages? Nicholas Stoller. Yeah, I mean, I can't really write anything that I personally wouldn't enjoy. I feel like Rob's the same way. It needs to make us laugh and entertain us. I actually agree with that. Like, I think if you're gonna like be in this kind of business, you need to like Do you write and direct stuff that you yourself would enjoy? Um, does that always work out? No, but I think in this case really gonna work out, especially since Rob worked on the movie. You know, he kind of knows how that goes. And then we also wanted to entertain tweens and teens, and we wanted to work for people who love Goosebumps and for people who've never even heard of Goosebumps and just want to watch a fun horror comedy thing. Our natural inclination is to try to entertain as many people as possible. This felt like it would naturally and organically do that if we approached it the right way. But it was just trying to tell an honest story about high school, which was where we started. HDL. Rob, you came back to the franchise, so I get caught up on my words sometimes. You came back to the franchise. What made now the right time to revamp this TV series that's been off the air for almost 3 decades? Robert Letterman, I mean, opportunity knocked. Neil Moritz, who produced the movie that I did, got the rights to do it as a TV series and called just as the pandemic was kicking. Hey, what are you doing? Don't calm down. Just as the pandemic was kicking in and was like, do you want to do that as a TV show? And I jumped at that. I wanted to. It's my first time in TV, so I was looking for an excuse and also looking for an excuse to work with Nick again. We worked many times in the past and we worked so well together. Here we go. I don't know if it was as much timing in outside world as it's personal timing of what a great opportunity. Do something with a friend and work on material that I loved. I also think Goosebumps. I was just a little caught off by this wording. I think they kind of edited it. It didn't look right. I also think Goosebumps is just a big sandbox. We're telling a lot of story in this TV series. We're using an excuse to do a real deep dive into stories, like Nick was saying, of high school and our memories of high school. We're parents of teenagers going through high school now. So we have a really interesting insight into that era right now. It just felt like the right time. HDL. And Nicholas, with your previous experience and wit, you're a great fit with this series. How did you get involved and what made you take it on? Nicholas Stoller. I've never been described as having wit. I like that. There's something very classy about that. I normally get goofball. Rob called me and I love working with him. We kind of just have the same tone and we speak the same language. To Disney's credit, when we explained the show to them, we were like, it's horror, but it's funny, but it's dramatic. It's kids, but there's adults. They're like, yeah, we got it. There wasn't a lot explaining to do, which was a testament to them because most things tend to be one thing or another. I think there's a little bit more mixing of genres now if you look at any number of things, but this is a mix of stuff intentionally. I was very excited. Most of the things I've done are just people fighting about romance. And so to get to do something that had horror, I love horror. I never had the opportunity to do it. But to get to do something that had horror elements, I love The Shining. I watch it like every year, like a weirdo. And also get to do something with visual effects, which Rob is the king at using visual effects. But it's not something I've really done a lot of. To get to play with those things and then get to tell a coming of age high school story was really exciting. And then get to see and then the blah. And then to get to use all these stories, these timeless Goosebumps stories, was really kind of a no-brainer. We figured out the plot pilot pretty quickly and the world of it pretty fast. It has been a pretty thrilling creative experience for all those reasons. As you mentioned, the great thing about R.L. Stine is his timeless themes. Things that worked in 1990 can work today. Do you foresee more of his stories coming to life in the near future? Nicholas Stoller. I think his books are timeless. The storytelling is great, and there's a lot of cultural references in them, like pop cultural references. They're not dated. There's not like a Hootie and the Blowfish reference from the 90s. You know what I mean? HGL. I would actually love that. Nicholas Stoller. I kind of want that, but it's very focused on more of the horror story he's telling. And so I think that lends itself, therefore, to being timeless and being something that you can keep using. The stories themselves have a primal quality to them. I think about something like The Haunted Mask. There's something very primal about that. Rob Ludman. We don't foresee anything. We hope all we can do is hope. We would love to keep going, and there are a lot more people than just us involved in this thing as well. I should be really clear about that. And I think everyone involved would love to keep going. There's a lot more story to tell. There's so much. We grabbed those first 5 books and dived in. There's so many books. There's so many hooks in there. We dropped a lot of hooks in our first season and set ourselves up nicely in hopes that we get a shot at doing it again. But yeah, there's a lot of runaway. Okay, so that was the first interview. Very good interview. Didn't get too much into like a lot of it was pretty much seemed to be like about behind the scenes and like what it was for them, what's like for them working on it and stuff. They really get into like a lot of like story details. Like I said, one of the things we did get is just like here at the end when Rob Blair mentioned that they, you know, when they talk about, are they going to continue, possibly do a second season. I know they didn't say that, but that's really like what they were asking. You see a second season happening, and Rob Blair mentioned in that, the first season is based on the first 5 books. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Haunted Mask, Say Cheese and Die, Night of the Living Dummy, Go Eat Worms, and Cuckoo Clock of Doom. Right. Um. So first season based off those first 5 books. They're integrated into the story, but it seems like we're gonna see like references to other Goosebumps books as the series progresses that are gonna be little hooks for possibly a second season happening, and hopefully that does get to happen. That would be really cool. Anyways, let's read this second interview by mamasgeeky.com. Excuse me. Goosebumps EPs talk Slappy, R.L. Stein, and Justin Long. Now, once again, I want to mention there are some minor spoilers in this interview. Nothing major. They do talk about some things that happen in some episodes without revealing too much. But if you don't want any spoilers at all, click away. Go watch another video. Anyways, with that being said, let's continue. Yeah. Goosebumps comes to Disney Plus and Hulu with an all-new series that is sure to have longtime fans thrilled. It perfectly embodies the world created by R.L. Stein while also being its own thing. It works largely in part because of the brilliant writing and the incredible cast. We caught up with some of the creators to discuss the new series. Goosebumps executive producers Rob Letterman and Hilary Winston reveal the pressure that comes with developing a series from such a well-loved franchise. They also talk about bringing on the incredible cast, deciding which books to feature, and the potential for more seasons. Alright, Mama's Geeky, which I'm going to refer to as MG, if I remember to mention the names when I'm reading. Mama's Geeky, I am a giant Goosebumps fan. I grew up reading it. Was there a little bit of pressure that comes along with creating a series from such a well-loved franchise? Rob Letterman, yeah, I mean, listen, I feel pressure all the time on a lot of things. There's a lot of pressure and responsibility because you want to do right by the fans. You want to do right by the original creator, obviously, but that's also what inspires making it and keeps you going. I think that is all healthy pressure for making this thing. Hilary Winston, and Rob directed the movie, so he had some experience with handling the material before tackling it into a series. So that was what helped out a lot. MG. Well, I absolutely loved it. I got screeners for the first 8 episodes and binged them in a day. I couldn't stop. But the end of episode 8 feels conclusive in a way that I have no idea where things go from here. Okay, so that's interesting. Episode 8 feels like kind of wraps everything up. Interesting. Okay. Hilary Winston, I think any good horror movie, you think the threat is gone. If you ever think that in a horror movie, you should be careful. MG, that's true. Something I love so much about this Goosebumps series is the dynamic of the cast. They work so well together. They are all fantastic, especially Justin Long. Can you talk about working with all of them? Rob Ledman, yeah, he's amazing. The cast is awesome. I mean, I have got to be honest, we worked really hard. The writers worked incredibly hard. The whole show is a lot of talented people putting in a lot of hard work, and the cast really does elevate it all to the next level. Our 5 teams are amazing. That was a really rigorous auditioning casting process to find these people, and we got so lucky. And they became friends. They hadn't met each other, so they became friends outside of the show while shooting it, and it really bleeds into the series. I actually like that. Like when they do shows like this, and like the cast get along with each other outside of the show, especially like shows like this where it's like a high school setting, and the young cast members become friends. You can really see that in the show. That really does play into the shows when that happens. So that's really good. Hopefully you noticed that watching the episodes. So that was amazing. Justin's next level. He's doing comedy. He's funny. He's scary. He's weird. He's charming. He's pathetic. He's doing so much stuff. It's really incredible. Rachel Harris is amazing. Rob Hubel, we're very fortunate. Hilly Winston. One of the things about Justin, since you mentioned to him specifically, is that Justin is tough on writers. Justin gets a script and he's not just like, okay, just show us how to do this. He has questions. He's so into his character. He wants to know the motivations. He wants to know what's coming down the pipeline. Does this make sense with what's coming down the pipeline? Where were we in the last episode? Is he in the right headspace? He's an actor that can really look at the entire picture in a way that is so refreshing. As a writer, because that's what we do all the time. Look at the big picture. And when he's asking those questions, it's amazing and really helps take everything up a notch. MG, without spoilers, he's essentially playing two different characters. The way he can switch within seconds is impressive. So if you've seen the official Goosebumps trailer, you know Justin Long's character gets possessed by a teenage ghost, basically. Um, Rob Letterman, it's crazy. Hilly Winston, Episode 109, without spoiling anything, is an episode where we get to know a lot more about Nathan Bratt, the character that Justin plays. And it's really such a fun thing to get to go back in time and see who Nathan Bratt was before he arrived in Port Lawrence. And it gives us a chance to take a little breath after all the action. Now, I just want to look this up. I think, um, episode 9 is the Night of the Living Dummy 2. Uh, okay, let's see. Where's the episode? Yeah, okay, so episode 9 is Night of the Living Dummy Part 2. Okay. So I kind of had a theory that one of those episodes was going to be a flashback episode. And it sounds like that's might be focus. It sounds like it's gonna be focused on Justin Long's character Nathan Bratt. So that's gonna be very interesting to see, right? Uh, and it's really such a fun thing to get to go back in time and see who Nathan Bratt was before he arrived in Port Lawrence. And it gives us a chance to take a little breath after all the action. Okay. It's going to be an interesting episode. MG. I can't wait since I am such a big fan of Goosebumps. I love how this series honors the lore while also creating a bit more for each story. How did you decide which books to borrow from for season 1? That happened really early on. That happened really early on when Nick Stoller and I were coming up with the concept of it. cracking what this whole show could be. When we landed on the notion of the book series, as you know, is an anthology series, and the show is serialized. We wanted to pay tribute to the idea of those books. We started mapping books, storylines to characters, and that they would intersect. That was a big concept. The way we picked them, once we crafted the characters and the dynamics, then we went through the first 60 Goosebumps books that came out. We went into those and kept honing it down. Then we found the books that fit the characters best. And they happen to be very well known Goosebumps books. So it worked out. Hillary Winston. And the good thing with R.L. Stein is you're never going to run out of material. MG, can we talk about Slappy a little bit? I feel like he was an obvious choice to be included. Rob Ledman. We tried to keep that close to the vest and not reveal it until later when people watched the episodes. Then he ended up on the billboard, so that went out the window. But it seems obvious now Slappy is sort of the face of Goosebumps, so yes, I think we delivered pretty well with Slappy. Without giving anything away, there's a lot there in the final 2 episodes. Okay, that is very interesting. So it sounds like the last 2 episodes, like there's gonna be some heavy stuff that goes down with Slappy. Maybe some heavy lore. We're gonna get into like his past. In this show, was he made by a sorcerer? Was he made out of the wood from a coffin? What is his? We're gonna get into his backstory in this series. So that makes me very excited for these last 2 episodes. It's gonna be interesting. MJ, can you talk about his design? Because he looks so good in this. Rob Lemon, oh, that's great. We wanted to do a fresh take on it, but still honor the original book cover of Night of the Living Dummy. It's hard to say this without giving things away, but for story reasons, there's a vintage patina to Slappy. I don't know what that means. Let me look that up. Vintage patina meaning. The word patina derives from the Italian patinato, mean a shallow layer of deposit on the surface, not used to refer to any signs of aging of an antique, whether it be fading, darkening, oxidizing. Okay, so I get what they mean now. Okay. There's a vintage patina to Slappy that will make sense as you watch the whole 10 episodes as to why that is. We really looked at the original Ventriloquist dummies dating all the way back to 1800s and try to break those things down. The whole show's vibe is gritty and grounded and realistic, and that all poured into the Slappy design. Okay, so that's interesting. It sounds like Slappy is definitely gonna be like a presence throughout all 10 episodes. Okay, interesting. Hilly Winston. If you can believe it, dummies actually were a lot creepier when they first started than you can possibly imagine. Oh yeah, go look at old pictures of like old ventriloquist dummies. They're just they're creepy. Rob Lemon, and that's real human hair. If that makes you feel more uncomfortable, Slappy. I mentioned that in my video uh the other day. When I was reading the Goosebumps review and talking about some other Goosebumps news. Um, somebody mentioned that in a thread, and so this is the interview where they reveal that. So yeah, and that is creepy. Real human hair. The whole series is filled with great visuals. Without spoilers, there's a yellow goop that ends up all over some people. How long did it take to decide on the color and texture? So I think the yellow goop is monster blood. I think it's monster blood. Rob Ledman, we were still messing with it up until like the last minute. The only rule we had going in early on in the writing stage, I don't want to give anything away, but we didn't want it to be bloody. And then we didn't want it to be silly, so it was a constant balancing it. So it's kind of interesting how you kind of said that. I don't want to give anything away, but we didn't want it to be bloody. It's as he's from this picture, it really like it looks like snot. It looks like I'm not. It looks like snot. Yeah, but just that choice of wording, we didn't want it to be bloody. You know, that yeah, it's a monster blood. Everybody, it's monster blood. We all know it's monster blood. Come on now, despite the color, it's monster blood. Haley Winston. The show walks the line of fun and scary, so anything that we have in the show always had to be the fun, scary version, and that really falls into that category. MG, how involved was Arlstein with the series? Rob Lemon. We got his blessing. I think it's really important with any of these things where you're trying to adapt something from an original creator to get their blessing, which we did. We had a shorthand with him because I did the movie back in 2015 and he was in the movie, so I got to know him. We are allowed to call him Bob, which is nice. He's just a really sweet, sweet guy. I think there was a little bit of trust baked in on this round, but yeah, we talked to him at the beginning, got his blessing. We showed him the episodes at the end and got a really nice note from him. It just feels good to make him feel good about this. Goosebumps premieres Friday, October 13th on Disney Plus and Hulu. With the first 5 episodes dropping as part of Disney Plus's Disney Plus Halo stream and Hulu's Halloween celebrations. New episodes streaming weekly on Fridays. Alright. Alright, so those were the two interviews. Um, pretty, both pretty interesting. Definitely the second interesting had some interesting details in it. Um, uh, doesn't surprise me that they wanted to keep Slappy a secret. Especially since he was such a big like part of like the movies, both of them. Um, but I think like everybody kind of knew like since Slappy's the face of Goosebumps that he was gonna have some kind of presence in the show. Um, and I'm really excited for this series. 3 more days to go. Anyways, guys, that's gonna be it for this video. I hope you all enjoy it. Please leave a like, drop a comment down below, and I will see you all in the next video.